Hiya! Welcome to LSB Feasters Radio Channel, where we keep great radio from the past alive. Doing something a little different today. Today we are going back to August 29th, 2005. That is when Hurricane Katrina struck Louisiana. It was one of the most devastating natural disasters in U.S. history. And when it hit New Orleans, the storm itself was powerful, but the real catastrophe came after the city's levees broke. And those levees were supposed to protect neighborhoods from flooding. But many broke under the pressure of the storm surge, and as a result, 80% of the city of New Orleans ended up underwater, leaving thousands of people stranded on rooftops, in the Superdome, or in makeshift shelters waiting for rescue. The impact on the city was enormous. Entire communities were destroyed, and tens of thousands of families were displaced, some never to return home. The disaster exposed some deep issues of poverty and government response, and most of the hardest hit areas were low-income residents who did not have the means to evacuate. Even today, New Orleans still bears the scars from Katrina. Now, what we have here is coverage of Hurricane Katrina from CNN, and Wolf Blitzer, I think his brand new show, The Situation Room, was broadcasting from New Orleans. The show had only been on the air for about a week, and they had this disaster to cover, which is not easy to do, because if you think about it, there's no power. Streets are flooded. It's hard to get in and out of the city, and communication was almost impossible in some areas. So let's check it out. It's Wolf Blitzer and CNN coverage of Hurricane Katrina.
Floor can't go down to the first floor any longer at the lobby. The people have been absolutely tremendous handling the situation at the hotel, a Marriott property here in New Orleans. And they have done tremendously with the guests, keeping them informed. They're turning the generator power on and off because they're running out of fuel. They want to conserve that fuel, but they have provided meals for all of the guests in the hotel. And so what we are seeing here in this microcosm, I'm sure, is being played out, Wolf, at one of these main hotel structures, buildings here around the city. But it's oppressive heat. Of course, there's no electricity. The sanitation system is down. We've been told stay away from the water, don't drink the water. And of course, all of the water on the streets is contaminated. And of course, we're slogging through that water. But you can see debris, bags of garbage floating down the streets. And you know, the irony, I guess, in all of this is that it should not come as a surprise. Emergency managers, hurricane specialists for years have talked about this scenario transpiring and what would happen if there were breaches in the levee. And indeed, it is playing out to a very horrifying magnitude here in the Crescent City. Wolf?
John, we heard from the mayor, Ray Nagin, saying that perhaps 80% of New Orleans, a city of 500,000, another million or so in the suburbs, 80% of the city is now underwater. And you raise this problem of health. This problem could just be beginning right now if the sanitation and the health factors escalate, as presumably they will.
Oh, there's no question about it. This is just the very early stages. We're only 24 hours into this, and the conditions, you know, are to say that cliche, the conditions are deteriorating fairly rapidly, is clear here in New Orleans. I remember in '92, you know, after Hurricane Andrew went through, and the situation was that within 3 or 4 days, the military was here, the federal army was on the ground. They were bringing in tents. They were building tent cities for the refugees from Hurricane Andrew, the tens of thousands of people. But there's a huge difference. There was dry land after Andrew. Here, there's no dry land. There's nowhere to put things. They're going to have to mobilize to get the people out of the city to high ground, wherever that is. So it's a whole different scenario, and many times perhaps worse even than what happened after Hurricane Andrew, because you've got to get the people out in order to provide for them. You cannot provide for the victims within these city limits. Wolf?
The big difference, as you well know better than anyone, you covered Hurricane Andrew in South Florida in 1992, that Homestead Air Force Base, which was there. A lot of that area is certainly not as thickly populated as a big city like New Orleans is, so presumably this is so much worse. But give us a little bit more perspective.
I'm losing you, Wolf. If you can still hear me, we will continue to try to reestablish contact, but we are losing our contact with you. We're going to try and come back, continue to give you as much information as we can pass on. But a final thought is that again, the fires are continuing to burn here, and again, this is just the beginning. Only 24 hours into what is clearly a situation that could very well be deteriorating by the hour.
All right, John, thanks very much. John Zarella reporting for us from New Orleans. John, we'll get back to you as soon as we can reestablish that satellite phone. He was joining us via video camera as well. This situation clearly deteriorating in New Orleans and beyond, happening now. Rescues and hard realities in the hurricane disaster area. You're in the Situation Room, where news and information about Katrina's aftermath are coming in simultaneously. We're watching all front. 3 p.m. along the ravaged Gulf Coast, Central Time. People's lives are literally dangling. Members of the U.S. Coast Guard still coming to the rescue. How many people will they save? And how many might not make it? We're watching this story. A sunken city, most of New Orleans now underwater. And it likely will be days, maybe weeks, maybe more, until the Big Easy dries out. What's being done now to ease the floodwaters? We'll go back there live. And coastal Mississippi also in crisis. Hundreds already may be dead. An untold number of homes and lives shattered. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. The Coast Guard says it's rescued thousands of people in the New Orleans area alone. Stranded by the floodwaters unleashed by Hurricane Katrina, the situation remains tenuous. Some are being taken to the battered Superdome for medical attention. Dramatic scenes like these playing out today across the disaster area. In Mississippi, the Biloxi area looks like a bomb hit it. Home after home reduced to rubble. In one small Mississippi town, crews are putting black marks on homes that contain bodies because they don't have the resources to remove those bodies, at least not yet. In Alabama, many roads are still blocked by floodwaters and downed trees. But officials in Mobile say they feel fortunate that the damage there was not worse. Katrina by the numbers. We're following this situation state by state. Let's take a look. Some of the numbers right now in Louisiana. 2 dead confirmed. Officials, though, fear many, many more. 800,000 people are still without power in Louisiana. 10,000 taking shelter in the Superdome alone. That could go up to 15 or 20,000 shortly. Over in Mississippi, already 55 confirmed dead. That's an estimate. It could rise well into the hundreds. Nearly 900,000 people are without power, and more than 1,600 Mississippi National Guardsmen have now been activated. Let's move over to Alabama. 2 confirmed dead, more than 500,000 power outages in that state alone. Alabama sending 800 National Guardsmen to Mississippi. They're trying to help in this situation. As we've been telling you throughout the past hour, all day, the New Orleans has been very heavily hit. The U.S. Coast Guard is using helicopters, harnesses, and some daring heroics to try to help people who are literally stranded on rooftops. Let's get more on that rescue effort. Joining us now is Captain Pete Simons. He's a deputy incident commander for the U.S. Coast Guard. He's in Alexandria, Louisiana. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. It's Simons or Simmons?
It's Simons, Wolf.
All right, thanks very much. Give us a little sense. You've seen the pictures, the dramatic rescue of these individuals stranded on rooftops. They're put in these harnesses. They're taken aboard your helicopters. Give us a sense of what this operation is all about.
Well, as you've eloquently indicated, this is really a phenomenal rescue effort. We've pressed into service all available resources along the Gulf Coast, and in fact this is a national Coast Guard-wide response. We have air crews that have been brought in from Cape Cod to Miami, west to North Bend, Oregon. In the New Orleans area alone, we have 22 aircraft, helicopters, that have been conducting rescue operations in the downtown area, plucking people off of rooftops, and depending upon whether or not they require medical attention or just delivery to high ground, taking them to the Superdome or to the nearest available safe spot, and then returning for additional people. And it's as you can imagine, a tremendous effort on the part of the air crews to respond to what really is just a phenomenal need for assistance there in the downtown area.
Captain Simons, beyond the floodwaters and all the other problems, we now see fires erupting in New Orleans and elsewhere. I assume you've seen the pictures. I assume the Coast Guard is trying to deal in some sort of way with that as well. Can you give us some perspective?
Well, that's correct, but this is, of course, a massive team effort. It involves not only Coast Guard resources, but other federal agencies, FEMA, for example, and then state and local agencies. We're working with the Louisiana National Guard, for example, obviously city officials, local sheriff's departments and fire departments to try to identify what the high priority targets are for action in terms of fire response or emergency medical response, or what we call urban search and rescue. That is, trying to relieve people of really the very difficult conditions they face as a result of this hurricane.
When we see those Coast Guard choppers going in, dropping that harness, and lifting these individuals, they're holding on as tightly as they can in those baskets. How dangerous of an operation is this?
Well, it looks much more precarious, really, than it is. The first step is generally that we lower a rescue swimmer down to brief individuals on what's going to happen, and then they lower the rescue basket down again and one by one retrieve them from the rooftops or wherever they might happen to be, so that there's an individual from the Coast Guard on the ground, as well as obviously very skilled pilots in the air, to make sure that as best as possible it's of minimal risk. The operation itself obviously has some dangers in it, but these individuals have done these thousands of times before, and as of last night we had rescued 1,200 people. As of about midday today, our rescue numbers were in the thousands. It's almost too difficult to keep up with those numbers, but as the air crews return to our air operations center there at Belle Chase, we're able to get updates on the number of people rescued.
Captain Simons of the U.S. Coast Guard, thanks very much for joining us. Good luck to you and all your personnel on the scene. We've reestablished contact with our John Zarella. He's in New Orleans. John, the fires, we can see the smoke coming up from behind you. Look around you, behind you, and share with us what you're seeing.
Well, what we were seeing is just a minute ago we saw a helicopter flying overhead. Don't know if it was police, and that helicopter was broadcasting some sort of a message. We have no idea what it is. Down below us is, and towards where the camera view is Canal Street, and that's where all the looting was going on earlier today, and it just did not appear that there was enough police manpower to handle the problem that they had there. There was an earlier fire in that same direction where our camera is looking, out by the bridge there earlier today, again somewhere along the Mississippi, we believe. That fire's flared up, and then it's calmed down a bit, and then that huge fire that is behind me in the distance, again we believe perhaps some oil or chemical storage facility there on the Mississippi. You know, all around us where you can see, I think, you know, one of the great problems that it's very quiet here in the city right now. It's so quiet. You don't hear much at all. Last night was very different when tourists were out on the street on Canal Street, walking the street. People were milling around. There were police everywhere. But then in the overnight hours, when the levee breached and the water began to come in, everything radically changed this morning, and again, everything became impassable. And as we know, perhaps 80% of the city is underwater. And you know, one of the things from covering the New Orleans story for so many years that we'd heard is that in this worst case scenario, that if the levees broke, what they would try to do, and what apparently the Army Corps of Engineers is going to try to do, is to drop some enormous thousands of pound sandbags from helicopters into the breach of the levee, try to block off the water from coming from Lake Pontchartrain into the city, and then blow another hole somewhere in the levee so that at another location that would have gravity then pull the water out of the city. And that may be one of the things they're working on doing, a dramatic way to stop the water from coming into the city, because again, Wolf, it is continuing to rise and has been rising now for at least 12 hours that we know. Just a few inches every hour, but a steady creep up. Again, it's in the lobby now of the hotel, up several inches. Wolf?
So presumably, virtually every building in that downtown area where you are near the Superdome and beyond, there's at least water seeping into the ground levels and the basements, if there are any basements, in virtually every building in that area.
Oh, absolutely. We could see the water seeping in today. We opened a door. The hotel management opened the door to the basement to show us down there. Water was just pouring in and coming up into the basement from the street level. So clearly in all of these hundreds and thousands of buildings here in the downtown part of the city, they're experiencing that exact same thing. I wish from this roof vantage point we can see quite a bit. And again, it's extremely quiet here. But what we can't see from this vantage point is the Superdome to get an idea of what is going on there. The fire continuing to burn in the distance. Again, we've seen periodically some of those Coast Guard helicopters flying over. I know you were talking to the Coast Guard about the rescue attempts here earlier that are continuing to go on in New Orleans and in other places along the Gulf Coast. And we've seen some building collapses that we did see yesterday. The thing about it, Wolf, was that what was so fascinating was that yesterday you had a different sense of what was going on here because there was no breach in the levee. We were able to drive around. We saw looting yesterday as well, but you could drive around. You saw the infrastructure that had been destroyed, some buildings that were damaged, the power system that was completely down, and water, a lot of water in some places, but nothing compared to the amount of water that is now flooding into to the Big Easy. Wolf?
You did a lot of research going into New Orleans, looking at the worst case scenarios, and as bad as this situation is, had that hurricane been a Category 4 and had a direct hit on New Orleans, God only knows how much even worse it would have been.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. The nightmare scenario here was somewhat avoided, if you can believe it, because the storm Katrina veered a little bit to the right. The levee system was designed to withstand a Category 3 hurricane. This was a Category 4 hurricane, but on top of that, they have a unique situation in Louisiana where they are literally losing land every year. And this land loss over the past 20 or 25 years, which scientists have been studying, has eroded any kind of a barrier that they once had along the Gulf to these major massive storms. So more recent modeling of what a hurricane would do to this city showed that those the levee system that surrounds the city might not stand up, might be overtopped even by a Category 3 hurricane. Of course, it was designed after Betsy in 1965, which was a Category 3. So clearly, this storm of 4, even though it missed, caused serious problems. Wolf?
All right, John, we're going to wrap you, but we're going to get back to you. You've been watching a news conference in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The governor, Kathleen Blanco, obviously heartbroken as so many millions of people watching what's happening in New Orleans, elsewhere in Alabama and Mississippi are right now. At the beginning of the news conference, we heard the governor utter these words. Let's listen.
We are having to bring shipments of food in to the emergency personnel and to those people who are in shelters. We're going to try to get the people in shelters because they're isolated by water in most cases. but we're going to try to get those people relocated as soon as we possibly can get a plan together. And a lot of people lost their lives, and we still don't have any idea because the focus continues to be on rescuing those who have survived.
The governor of Louisiana, Kathleen Blanco, saying that complete evacuation now of all remaining residents under consideration for New Orleans, a city of 500,000 people. There's no power there, and there won't be any power, any electricity for some time, she says. Really no drinking water, although a lot of water is coming in because those two levees were broken. And sanitation and health hazards remain critical right now. James Carville is joining us. He's from Louisiana, your home state. Clearly, right now, a catastrophe, James.
Yeah.
You have relatives who are still there?
I got 6 brothers and sisters that are still there.
Where are they?
They're in Baton Rouge. I had a sister who lived in Slidell, Louisiana, which lost a house. And Slidell was probably more devastating than any part of Louisiana. It's a community between New Orleans and the Mississippi line, so it was much closer to where the Idaho storm hit. Nobody can get back, so she's fortunate in that she's staying with my sister who lives in Prairieville, Louisiana, which is right outside of Baton Rouge, so they can stay there, obviously, as long as they want. But if you compound that, people in New Orleans can't get back to your house. And as the governor said quite correctly, it could be weeks. Who knows how long it'll be before you can even get in and assess the damage. She teaches at the St. Margaret and Mary parochial school in Slidell. That school is, she tells me, is 8 feet underwater. Her husband works for ExxonMobil Pipeline in St. Bernard Parish, which his stations are 20 feet underwater. He has no idea when he's going back to work. So this is compounded. This is but the story of one family. There are a million stories just like this. My brother, as a contractor, he owns part of 3 hotels in New Orleans. One of his business associates' dad has brain cancer. Had to call him, move his dad to my brother's bedroom in Baton Rouge. When electricity went out, he had to get a generator from his contracting office and put an air conditioner in there. And, you know, the man has got terminal brain cancer. And this is a kind of human stories. I'm not just trying to accent on my family, but it's the story I know. There are a million stories, many of them much worse, much worse than what my family's experiencing there. But this is what this storm has done.
And we're getting new video showing what's happening in New Orleans. Just think about this. 80% of that city, 500,000 people, James, underwater right now. And the water continues to flow into the city. Did you ever think beautiful areas like the French Quarter, historic areas of this major American city are on the verge of destruction?
Everybody in Louisiana knew that this could happen. People. This is always the topic. If the big one hit, I think there was a sense that this was going to be the one we all dreaded, and then it missed us, and maybe it wasn't quite as bad. I think it's much worse as we watch today what happened, and watching Governor Barbour of Mississippi. Don't forget. Those folks have really taken it. The stories that I hear of people living out of pickup trucks, and understand these people are not going to be able to get back to their homes for weeks, maybe months, and then when they get back, they're going to have to do an engineering assessment. Then can you imagine what filing the insurance claims are going to be? So this story is not going to go anywhere, and I hate to be the first one to say this, but the surface temperature in the northern Gulf is 2 degrees higher than normal. We're September the 1st tomorrow. There's a good 6 weeks left of this hurricane season. I wouldn't want to think what would happen if we have another hurricane anywhere in the northern Gulf.
Just think, one of the reporters at this news conference in Baton Rouge asked the governor and Senator Mary Landrieu, who was there, the FEMA representatives, the representatives of the National Guard, this question, and it was sort of chilling when I heard the question: do you think New Orleans can be rebuilt, will ever be rebuilt? When you think about the nature of that question from a reporter, it sends chills up and down your spine.
Look, I love that city. My wife and I got married in New Orleans. That's our favorite. My kids, it is their favorite place in the world. And yes, it can be rebuilt. If anybody that knows me knows I'm going to be calling them for money and be raising money, which is the thing that I can do to do that. That's going to be huge effort set up to raise money to help these people. But, you know, it's going to be, sure, it's going to be rebuilt, but how, in how long it takes is going to be a good question here. It's a big storm and with big, and you know, a lot of people love New Orleans, not just me because I live there and got married there and my kids love it, but people from all over the country. I can't tell you while I walk down the street because, man, I love your home city. I had such a good time there. Etc. So it's a first game, and let's not forget about just because the people on the Mississippi coast, and I mean they're real devastation there. I mean it's terrible, and let's just hope that we get through the next 6 weeks of this, or 8 weeks, I guess technically, of this hurricane season, and not have something else break out in this northern Gulf, because I couldn't even imagine that.
Let's pray for everyone. Thanks very much, James,
Thank you.
and good luck to all your friends and family down there. We're going to take a quick break, but we're not going to ignore Mississippi. Perhaps hundreds of people have already died along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We're going to go there live. We're also getting in some new exclusive video. One of our photographers went up in a plane, shot video up and down the Gulf Coast. We're going to show you that video. Here's some numbers. You need to know these numbers if you'd like to help. We'll be right back.
CNN, your hurricane headquarters.
Jack Cafferty's been watching all of these dramatic developments with all of us. He's also been monitoring your email. Jack's joining us from New York. Jack?
Heartbreaking story, Wolf. It seems kind of callous to discuss gasoline in the wake of everything that's going on in terms of the human suffering down there. But there's a possibility that energy could be affected. We get about a fourth of our oil and gas out of the area that was trashed by Katrina. Yesterday, Governor Jeb Bush in Florida said that residents could see shortages of gasoline in that state in the coming days. We had pictures of long lines of cars in Mississippi waiting at gas stations for fuel. Experts have not begun to assess all the damage to the many rigs that were shut down and possibly damaged out in the Gulf of Mexico. So last hour, actually a couple hours ago, we asked at what point should the government consider rationing gasoline? We got a lot of responses. Jerry in Alpharetta, Georgia wrote, gasoline rationing should be considered when a fair and honest method for allocating such rations can be formulated by a Congress and executive branch that have the best interests of the American people at heart. In other words, never. John in Hernando, Florida, let's start the rationing of fuel now. We seem to forget we're in a war situation. Now there's this mess in the Gulf of Mexico. How about getting the big three U.S. automakers to stop with the super huge vehicles and get back to common sense cars? Joe writes, Jack, why bother rationing gasoline? Wait till the price hits $5 or $6 a gallon, and the average Joe won't be able to afford to drive anyway. If there's anything we don't need, it's another government department telling us how to live. Tom in Manassas, Virginia, get real, Cafferty. How can the illegal construction workers help the developers boom their way to the stars with gas rationing? Wake up, man, it's Bush time. Ain't going to be no gas rationing. And Mark writes, unless there's a major catastrophe that will affect our other refineries, as well as the ones in the Gulf states, any attempt to ration gasoline would be met with extreme criticism, if not outright scorn, by most people. So kind of evenly split on the idea of rationing gasoline, Wolf.
All right, Jack, thanks very much. We're going to check back with you in a few moments. It's 5 p.m. here in Washington. You're in the Situation Room, where news and information from the battered Gulf Coast are arriving at one place simultaneously. Happening right now, a desperate and deteriorating situation in New Orleans. Water is rising and time is running out for hurricane survivors trapped by the growing flood. The scope of the devastation is growing by the hour. Among the latest developments we're following right now, a major highway in and out of New Orleans is simply destroyed. And there's grim word from Mississippi, where officials are now predicting the death toll will rise well into the hundreds in that state alone. I'm Wolf Blitzer, and you're in the Situation Room. Louisiana's governor says plans are being made to evacuate the city's rescue centers. In a news conference just moments ago, Kathleen Blanco described a situation she called catastrophic and unfathomable. 2 broken levees are now inundating the city of New Orleans with water from Lake Pontchartrain. The crisis particularly acute at Tulane University Hospital with more than 1,000 people inside surrounded by up to 6 feet of water. An official there told us only a few moments ago here in the Situation Room that efforts are underway right now to airlift 200 of the most critically ill patients first and foremost. And there's a growing death toll in coastal Mississippi, where crews are going house to house to locate casualties, but with no place to take the bodies. They're unable to remove the dead. Now some numbers to put all of this in perspective. First to Louisiana. 790,000 people are without power. The Department of Health and Human Services says it's sending 27 pallets of medical supplies, and at least 2 people are now confirmed dead, although that number is expected to rise. Over in Mississippi, the Department of Health and Human Services there says it's sending 38 doctors and nurses in right now. And FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, says it's sending trucks, ice, water, meals, desperately needed by so many people who are hungry and homeless. In Alabama, 1,600 National Guard members helping out relief efforts. 650,000 people are already without power. That number continuing. We're getting some new video in right now as well. New video of the Superdome in New Orleans. Check out that roof. That roof severely damaged by Hurricane Katrina. That's what it looks like right now. But we're told that there's water outside of the Superdome, and that water is seeping in as well. We also want to share with you some other new pictures that literally are just coming in to CNN. Our photographer, Jashek Schneider, has just come back from the hurricane zone, and he brought the video in to CNN Center by hand. He's joining us now live from Atlanta. Jay, tell our viewers where you were and what you saw.
I was in an airplane, Wolf, flying about 5,000 feet over the coast of Mississippi and Louisiana, and it was devastating. This is Biloxi, Mississippi. I think that's a casino. A lot of casinos on the coast, and it was just capsized, as you see. And so much of the houses and businesses are just turned into rubbish and blown back from the coast. This is a hotel.
Did you, Jay, while you were there, see people on the ground who were either running away or worse? What did you see as far as the human element?
I really was too high up to see human beings because we were restricted to 5,000 feet so that emergency helicopters could use the lower altitude. So I didn't really see people. I just saw this broad damage.
When you say it was broad, how long? Did this go all up and down for tens of miles, maybe 100 miles up and down the coast?
I'd say the really worst spot I saw was the Gulfport, Biloxi area. It was as if a giant hose was used to push back. You see these houses here? You can see where there were houses just like it right there below. You can see where the water just totally pushed houses back, cleaned off their foundations. This is the coast. I was flying over the Gulf, shooting towards the beach, and you can see several hundred feet back is where all the houses were chewed up and pushed.
And this is Gulfport, Mississippi, the pictures we're seeing now?
That's Gulfport, and this is a section of, I think, Highway 90 from Gulfport going west towards New Orleans. And it was just, as you see, taken apart.
This used to be a highway, and now it's barely anything if we can see these images that you shot.
That's right. It was just the sections of bridge apparently were just tossed off of it like dominoes.
What about these pictures that we're seeing now?
Yeah, this is more Gulfport, Mississippi, and it was just, you can see these containers or trailers were just pushed several hundred feet away from the shoreline inwardly. And this is Slidell. This is
Slidell in Louisiana, which also very, very heavily hit. This water is not supposed to be there around these houses. Clearly, the flooding has devastated this area.
Yeah, these houses are turned into islands, and this is part of the I-10 bridge. You had some much better footage, I think, recently, but again, the sections of bridge are just totally torn off, pushed into the water.
Had you ever seen anything like this before, Jay? You're a veteran photographer. You've been with us at CNN for a long time. Have you ever seen anything like this?
In Homestead, Florida, it was extremely destructive. The wind gusts really just blew the stuffings out of all the buildings in Florida that I saw in Homestead. It was amazing. But the flooding here is obviously devastating. These houses are turned into islands.
And it's not just a random tiny little area of flooding. These are huge areas. This is video, obviously, you shot in New Orleans. This is the Superdome. You flew over it as well. But tell our viewers what we're seeing now.
Some sections of I-10 highway going through the New Orleans area that are leading into neighborhoods here. The neighborhoods are underwater. This is a view of Lake Pontchartrain and the causeway that goes across it. All these neighborhoods at the bottom of the picture are flooded.
And that's clearly underscores why the governor of Louisiana, Kathleen Blanco, just said a few moments ago, and we saw her say it here on CNN, that a serious plan is now underway to evacuate everyone who stayed behind in New Orleans. It's simply too dangerous. There is no food, really. The food problems are serious. Drinkable water is serious. There's no power. There's no electricity. And the situation is, from a health standpoint, clearly about to get worse as this water, much of it dirty water, is seeping in. Jay, we're going to continue to look at your video. Jay Scheck-Schneider, one of our photographers, flew over this devastated areas, and we'll get back with you. Jay, thanks very much. John Zarrella, our veteran correspondent who's seen many, many hurricanes over the years, he's joining us now live from New Orleans. Give us a little flavor, John, what you're seeing now, because we're looking at some new pictures that we just got in, but give us, from your vantage point, a little flavor to help our viewers better understand why the governor of this state now thinks it may be necessary to remove everyone.
Now with you, I'm losing communications with you, Wolf. Try to repeat that one time. You know, the communication is so spotty here. We're having a terrible time. We have very little way to communicate out.
If you can hear me, John, just give our viewers a sense of what you're seeing and hearing.
It's back now. Good. Well, what we're seeing, of course, and have been seeing for more than 2 hours behind us there in the distance is a fire, we believe, along the banks of the Mississippi at an oil, perhaps an oil storage facility or chemical storage facility. We don't know for sure what it is, but it has been burning intensely for more than 2 hours now. What's interesting is this being the city of New Orleans, the Big Easy, filled with flavor and music. You hear it all the time. You can't hear anything right now. Everything is still. There are people, very few people now out on the streets. No one walking around the streets because you can't, because it's underwater. Everything around us here in the hotel, and we're on the roof of our hotel on the parking garage level, and everything around us is water, and it's continuing to rise because of those breaches in the levee. Off to my right, and below, where you can't really make out, is Canal Street. And earlier today on Canal Street, there was some looting, significant looting of the stores there. People going into the sporting goods stores, into jewelry stores, grabbing everything they could. Police did come out onto the street and break it up eventually, but not before the damage was done. We did hear a couple of gunshots ring out for, believe it to be the police trying to break up what was going on there, down there in on Canal Street. Now, you know, just like Jay Scheck-Schneider has said, what you see here is just this massive, massive flooding. In the terms of total devastation, you know, the Hurricane Andrew scenario was a bit different. They were able to, and I know I've lost my communications with you, so I'll wrap this up and try to reestablish. But, you know, today was a day where things went downhill very dramatically. We had rescues taking place. Thousands of them by the Coast Guard's estimation, certainly hundreds of people being pulled off of rooftops, being pulled off by boats, because houses are submerged all over the city of New Orleans, perhaps 80% of the city underwater. There are many, many houses in all of the areas that are completely submerged. And again, we've had the looting developing here. A helicopter going overhead right now. Can't make out what kind that is, although we have seen Coast Guard helicopters periodically. Again, I'm going to throw it back to you now, Wolf, until we can reestablish communications with you.
All right, we'll check back with John Zarrella in New Orleans. clearly in deep, deep trouble. John, thank you very much. There's a cleanup crew that's parading in Biloxi, Mississippi, which has been very, very hard hit as well. You're looking at these live pictures from Biloxi, Mississippi, as this cleanup crew moves through the streets. Our Rob Marciano is there, our meteorologist. He's close to the worst part areas of Biloxi. John, give us, give us a little flavor of what you're seeing.
Well, Wolf, this is really the first positive thing we've seen all day. It's been a pretty desperate area, terrible to look at, and that we just heard a marching band, a drum line, march down Highway 90 here, not knowing what it was, and it was this young group of people who want to kick off some cleanup. So anyway, this is Highway 90, and they're marching up and down, and at some point I think they're going to get to doing some cleanup. Highway 90 is where the casinos are. It's where the most destruction has been, both on the ocean side and on the other side of Highway 90. I want to bring in this gentleman, and we can talk either over the marching band or over the video. Scott Richmond, we just got some video from just beyond Point Cadet. Tell me what you saw down there, so you can better describe it than I can.
Well, Rob, Biloxi is a peninsula, and down there where 4 casinos, well actually 4, it's the end of the peninsula. And I was a senior in high school when Hurricane Katrina hit in 1969, and I have never seen destruction on this magnitude like this. It's incredible. I drove down there, and there's just everywhere, even blocks off the beach, there's just houses that are just demolished in the middle of the road. There's people sitting on the side of the road. They look stunned. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, how do you feel about this marching band, this drum line coming down? What do you feel about that?
I'm not sure. I just got back from driving down to my, I worked for the Grand Casino in Biloxi. I don't know when it will even be back. I'm beginning to feel like I don't know if some of the people are going to rebuild. I'm kind of scared because the Grand Casino, which is huge, it was actually about a half a mile, quarter of a mile off its moorings, and it was in 2 pieces, and it was on the north side of the Highway 90, and it's just completely destroyed. If you go up to the entranceway where the casino should be, it's just broken concrete and the sound.
Well, I think people may eventually rebuild. We're going to get you some water. I know you want to let your friends and family know that you are okay. It's one of the biggest situations, Wolf, is that communication lines are completely down. Cell phones, landlines, power's out, water's out, and people can't even get to their loved ones outside of town and tell them that they survived the storm. We get people coming up to us all the time. Can we borrow your cell phone? Well, ours doesn't work either. So I guess we can be one vehicle in order to do that. So. A bit of a drum line coming down here to kick off one of the cleanup operations, Wolf, to give us a bit of a bright spot, a bit of a smile, I suppose. But the more pictures we take, the more adventuring we do, the more devastation we see. So it's tough to put a smile on today, that's for sure.
All right, Rob Marciano, we'll check back with you. A heartbreaking story all across the Gulf Coast. Let's get an update now on rescue operations in Louisiana. On the phone is Lieutenant Commander Jeffrey Carter of the U.S. Coast Guard. Commander, thanks very much for joining us. Give us a sense of your operation right now. We're showing our viewers one of your Coast Guard helicopters in operation because there have been some dramatic rescue operations, as you well know.
Well, Wolf, I can tell you the Coast Guard crews are working incredibly hard over the last day or so, working 6-hour shifts trying to rescue people who were stranded by Katrina. So far, we've rescued or assisted in the rescue of over 1,200 people from rooftops and the like.
When do you decide to put somebody in a harness like the images that we've been seeing, and at other times we see them put individuals inside a basket? How do you make that decision?
Well, a lot of times it's depending on the individual that we're rescuing. Can that individual safely sit in that basket, or do they need some reassurance and some assistance?
And this operation of yours is going to continue, although I assume it stops when it gets dark. Is that right, Commander?
Well, we do rescues 24 hours a day if we can, and so long as the conditions permit it, our crews will be out there trying to do the rescues.
Well, good luck, Jeffrey Carter, U.S. Coast Guard. Thanks very much for joining us. I want to go back to New Orleans right now, specifically to our Jean Meserve, who's joining us on the phone. Jean, where are you?
I'm back in the hotel, but I ventured down to the French Quarter since you had asked me what the situation was down there. Bourbon Street is largely dry. You do see some water on some of the side streets, but it is nothing like the rest of the town. There are people strolling down there in shorts and T-shirts. I even saw one woman with a drink in hand. They are desperate for information. Most of them have absolutely no idea what's going on in the rest of the city. They do not understand that they are leading a comfortable life as compared to anybody else who is still alive in the city of New Orleans. And they're all very anxious just to get their bearings and find out what's happening and when's the airport going to be open and where are the roads that are open and how can we leave. It's question after question after question. The water is rising in the city. We crossed over Canal Street this morning. It was dry. Now it's mid-calf at least. This is the place where a lot of the looting was going on. Police have come in large numbers. Some of them are patrolling on backhoes. That's what can get around the city in this water. We watched one confrontation. We watched a couple of young men trying to break in the window of a delicatessen, and the police came around the corner in their backhoe and eventually knocked the guy off his feet, and he eventually got up and did appear to leave the neighborhood. But the police are taking very strong action here. From what I've seen, that is exactly what the situation requires. Wolf?
Jean, what about the water? It's not just pure, clean lake water. It's pretty disgusting, I've been told, but maybe you could describe it to us, a combination of what, oil and dirt and sanitation. What is the water like?
I don't know if you've ever been in a port city at dead low tide. But if you have, you know what the water looks like. It's gummy. It's so full of junk. There is, of course, naturally occurring stuff that came off the trees and so forth, and the hurricane mixed in with that is a lot of waste. And by that I mean paper products, plastic. Now stuff is starting to come out of some of the stores. We're seeing shoes. We're seeing flip-flops. We're seeing, things that people have had to leave behind as they've tried to make their way to safety at the Superdome. Trash bags just abandoned, and then everything comes out of them. And so you have clothing, you have baby toys, you have all kinds of things floating in this disgusting, murky, brown water. It is beyond belief. I saw one thing today that I stopped and had our cameraman take a shot because I found it sort of capsulized what's going on here. And it was a couple of strands of Mardi Gras beads buried under about 6 inches of this absolutely filthy, horrendous water. And it's only going to get worse. I mean, it hasn't started smelling yet. It's going to start smelling. I'm sure already it's a tremendous health hazard. As I say, the worst is yet to come.
All right, Jean, please be careful over there. We're checked back with you. Jean Meserve doing an outstanding job together with all of our reporters and producers and camera crews on the scene under awful, awful circumstances. Let's check back with Jack Cafferty in New York. Jack, what can I say? It's a horrible situation. Did you ever think in our lifetime a major American city like New Orleans, population 500,000, could be in a disaster situation like this?
No, you don't think of it, but then if you look back at the history, Wolf, I guess in a way they sort of were living on borrowed time. 1965 was the last big hurricane. The Army Corps of Engineers went in and built those levees to withstand a Category 3 storm. Apparently that was all the technology and or the budget would allow at the time. And Category 3 is not as strong as it gets. And one day, 2 days ago, the unthinkable happened, and like I said, they've been living on borrowed time. You have to wonder, watching these pictures and listening to these accounts, if we'll ever see the city of New Orleans as we all remember the Big Easy. And where's President Bush? Is he still on vacation?
He's cut short his vacation. He's coming back to Washington tomorrow.
Oh, that'd be a good idea. He was out in San Diego, I think, at a naval air station giving a speech on Japan and the war in Iraq today. Based on his approval rating in the latest polls, my guess is Getting back to work might not be a terrible idea. That's not the question of this hour, however. Before Hurricane Katrina made landfall, the mayor of New Orleans ordered a mandatory evacuation of the city, told 1.3 million people to get out of town. But a lot of people either ignored the order or were unable to evacuate. And now a lot of them are trapped in their flooded homes, or worse. The fear is a lot of them are dead. The thousands who wound up spending the night in the Superdome had an uncomfortable stay. They lost the air conditioning, they lost part of the roof, but they're alive today. The question is this: when the government orders mandatory evacuations, what should be done about people who either can't or won't leave? Cafferty file, one word, CNN.com. We'll read some of your letters in a half hour. So.
All right, Jack. Thanks very much. Jack Cafferty joining us from New York. Perhaps the best way to understand the devastation is through the eyes of those who lived through it. Coming up, our Brian Todd has some amazing survivor stories. He's standing by to join us live. Also, a heartbreaking tale of a man and a wife literally separated by this storm. And you've been sending us your pictures, how it looks in your area. When we come back, we'll show you some of them as well. Much more coverage, the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, here in the Situation Room, right after this.
These days, who can you trust? Lou Dobbs tonight, CNN Tonight, 6 Eastern. CNN, your hurricane headquarters.
We're getting from the United States Coast Guard. A rescue worker takes an axe to the roof of a home to try to get to the people stuck inside. That's a scene that's been repeated countless times across the coast on this day. Throughout the day, we've been seeing dramatic rescue scenes, survivors in Louisiana and elsewhere. Let's get some more on this. CNN's Brian Todd is joining us. Brian, what are you picking up?
Well, Wolf, over the past couple of days, we've seen that many people have just barely escaped getting swallowed up by floodwaters, and survival often depends on a split-second decision on whether to leave where you happen to be or stay put.
Pulled off the roof just in time.
Okay, here, we've got a rescue in progress. The United States Coast Guard just pulled this man off the roof and now hoisting up to the Sikorsky Coast Guard helicopter.
But in a city submerged, maybe 80% of New Orleans underwater, says the mayor, many others have to wait on rooftops. Some choose not to, wading through chest-deep water, clinging to what few belongings they can carry. These people searching for anything above water to grab onto. Others seem willing to trudge through the endless rivers that used to be streets. But for some, waiting for rescue is the only choice.
Oh! Are you okay? Are you okay? It's okay. It's okay. You okay? You're the boat. You're the boat. All right, let's pick her up. Okay, hold on. You okay? We're going to get you up. Which way? That way. Okay.
As others are pulled from the same house, you wonder how they survived with the water level nearly to the roof.
You got it? Stand up. Let's go. Over here. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Great to see you. Glad you're all right. Yeah.
Now you can see what New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin means when he says in some sections of the city the water is as deep as 20 feet. Now we don't have hard numbers on the death toll in Louisiana right now, but Mayor Nagin warns citizens to brace for bad news. He says bodies have been seen floating in the water. Wolf.
All right, Brian. Thanks very much. Brian Todd reporting. Among the many tragic stories we're hearing from survivors, this one stands out. Reporter Jennifer Mayerl from our affiliate WKRG talked to a man in Biloxi, Mississippi, Harvey Jackson, who literally lost his wife during the hurricane.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm not doing good.
What happened?
The house just split in half.
Your house split in half?
Right here on Hollingham, Bayview. We got up in the roof, all the way to the roof, and water came and the house just opened up, divided.
Who was at your house with you?
My wife.
Where is she now?
Can't find her body. She gone.
You can't find your wife?
Oh, she told me everywhere. She told me. I tried. I hold her hand tight as I could, and she told me, "You can't hold me." She said, "Take care of the kids and the grandkids and my kids."
What's your wife's name in case we can put this out there?
Tony Jackson.
Okay, and what's your name?
Hardy Jackson.
Where are you guys going?
We ain't got nowhere to go. I don't know where I'm going. I'm lost. That's all I had. That's all I had. As long as what I'm gonna do.
What a heartbreaking story that is. Reporters at our affiliate WKRG tell us they've had calls pouring in from viewers about this story. Viewers as far away as Britain, but they have no way of contacting Mr. Jackson. If we hear anything more, we'll certainly pass it on to you. What a heartbreaking story that is. Let's check the situation online. Many heartbreaking stories coming in. Our internet reporter Jackie Schechtner is following the latest hurricane information on the web. Jackie?
Well, we've heard from several of our reporters now, Wolf, about how difficult it is to communicate now. And one of the things we wanted to show you is how people are using communities online to get information out and also, frankly, to ask for help in sort of in light of the story that we just saw. This is Craigslist.com. This is a community site. People find furniture here, housing. They look for partners. Now it's being used in New Orleans for lost and found. This is the area where people usually post for things like jewelry and sweaters. Now they are looking for human beings. People are posting things like this. We are missing family members. Help us out. Email us. Contact us. This is who we're looking for. Also, I am desperate. A woman looking for her father, last known to be working in the French Quarter. But the other thing the site is being used for, which is interesting, is generosity. We're seeing an outpouring of this online. Do you need a place to stay? I have a room in my home as far away as Oklahoma. Another one in Mesa, Arizona. If you've been evacuated and you don't have a home to go back to, people are offering up rooms in their home for free. Let us know if we can help. Another thing people are doing is offering their volunteer services online. People who just have the time and the energy and want to help, they are posting. So it's a good place to go if you're out of the area and you want to get some information about what's going on there. People who are willing to help you out at Craigslist.com. Just one of many communities we're seeing today online that are being posted to bring people together and in light of the fact that there's not that much communication out there, Wolf.
All right, Jackie, thanks very much. We're getting some new video in from New Orleans. I want to show our viewers some of these pictures, more heart-wrenching pictures coming in, the flooded areas, this beautiful city. Much of it, most of it now underwater, and the levees still cracked, the water continuing to come in. They're going to try tomorrow, the Corps of Engineers, to do something about this, but so far nothing can be done. We're going to continue to watch this. In a neighboring Alabama, the Governor Riley, has been touring the area. This is new video we're just getting in from Alabama as well, on a tour that the governor took. He was in this plane inspecting the area himself. Alabama, also very hard hit. 3 states, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, suffering tremendously from Hurricane Katrina. Thousands of National Guard troops dispatched to the hurricane zone. We'll go live to the Pentagon for the latest on their mission. Are there enough U.S. troops on hand to deal with this crisis? Also, our viewers doing double duty as citizen journalists. We'll show you some of the amazing images they're sending in here into the Situation Room. Plus, an update on some of the hardest hit areas along the Gulf Coast. We're continuing to watch the story. We're not leaving it. You're in the Situation Room.
CNN Primetime tonight. Katrina's aftermath.
It was beyond devastating.
Search for survivors.
The water is beginning to pour into the city.
Rescue operations.
There are still plenty of people needing rescues.
And the grim recovery efforts.
But there's a lot more crime to be done.
Special live coverage. CNN Primetime tonight, beginning at 7. Now at CNN.com, Hurricane Katrina, the latest storm video, the aftermath, plus your personal stories and photos. Complete coverage of Hurricane Katrina, now at CNN.com.
There are like 18-wheelers on top of cars and homes in the middle of the streets, and there's people wandering down the streets with nowhere to go, homeless. They've got maybe a bag over their shoulder, and they're all in the middle of the streets with nowhere to go. And the homes, houses, and boats and cars are just debris is just everywhere. It's very catastrophic down here.
It's no exaggeration to say that millions of people are feeling the impact of Hurricane Katrina. Here's just some of the aftermath. New Orleans, below sea level, and now largely underwater. A levee break overnight finished what Hurricane Katrina started, flooding about 80% of the city under as much as 20 feet of water. People trapped in their homes scrambled to attics and roofs where some may still be waiting for help.
Thank you.
In a nearby bayou, evidence of Katrina's strength. Boats tossed ashore, now stranded hundreds of yards from the sea. Louisiana's governor calls the devastation, quote, greater than our worst fears. Biloxi, Mississippi, crushed by Katrina's 25-foot storm surge. The streets, in many places, filled with debris. The flooding at one point stretching 6 miles inland. There's heavy damage to some of the city's popular casinos, a major source of revenue and jobs. And the storm's effects linger across Mississippi. 80% of the state is without power. Mobile, Alabama, battered, bruised, and waterlogged, but spared the kind of wholesale destruction seen in neighboring Mississippi. Roads and bridges remain closed due to debris and flooding. Across the state, more than 600,000 people are without power. Carroll County, Georgia, hundreds of miles from the sea, but also taking a beating from the hurricane. A tornado spawned by Katrina damaged more than 30 buildings in the area. It was one of several twisters to touch down across Georgia Monday. And we're getting some new video into the Situation Room from New Orleans, which has been so devastated by what's going on. You're looking at these pictures just coming in. New Orleans, a major port along the Gulf Coast. Serious problems in that port right now as the water continues to move through those damaged levees and move throughout this city of 500,000, another million people in the suburbs. We're looking at these images, the people just standing there trying to deal with this. You see a lot of people raising their white towels or white shirts to try to get themselves rescued. This is a very, very disturbing picture. People just waiting on top of this, hoping clearly they're hoping to get themselves rescued from this area that has been so devastated. We'll continue to watch these pictures for you and get some more information on what exactly they entail. Many of you have answered our call to become citizen journalists, sending us your images that you've captured of Hurricane Katrina, hopefully always keeping your own safety in mind. Our Mary Snow is in New York with a closer look at some of the images that she's received. Mary?
Well, Wolf, as we've been seeing, new pictures are coming in by the hour, most of them coming from journalists, but others are coming from people who are responding to the call as citizen journalists who are sharing their stories. In New Orleans, a desperate wait for help as homes are swallowed by water. Some swim to safety. This man tried to ride out the storm in his house, but the roof blew off and he made his way to the Superdome in the middle of the storm. In parts of the city, what water didn't destroy, the wind did. In Pascagoula, Mississippi, a neighbor comforts a young boy outside of what was once his home. Nearby, those who are counted on to bring relief are themselves stalled in the storm. In Biloxi, boats didn't stand a chance. Neither did this small plane in Gulf Shores, Alabama. In Mobile Bay, residents pick up the pieces of where water and land meet. And in Louisiana, south of New Orleans, a picture captures what many feel, a world turned upside down. And Wolf, just a reminder to our viewers, if you do want to share your story, either in video or photographs, you can log on to CNN.com to make those submissions.
All right, Mary, thanks very much. Mary Snow reporting for us from New York. I want to go back to those images we were just showing, those individuals sitting there, some in those orange jumpsuits. We're told that this is a prison, a jail in Orleans Parish in New Orleans, and that these individuals are prisoners that have been removed because water was moving into the jail. And they're clearly being watched by authorities there, but they're sitting on this road and you see the guards with the weapon standing in front of them. They have to be removed because water presumably has been moving into their prison as well. The New Orleans situation is simply devastating on so many aspects because everyone in New Orleans has been affected. The mayor, Ray Nagin, suggests that 70 or 80% of this city is now underwater, and the water is still moving in. Even now, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has a plan to deal with that levee breach that has caused the water to come in even after Hurricane Katrina moved out. It was dry, relatively speaking, but then all of a sudden there were 2 breaches in the levees that protect this city, most of which is below sea level to begin with. This is new video we're getting from our affiliates. Let's listen in briefly and see what our anchors at our affiliate stations are saying.
The on-ramp ahead. A very, very volatile situation here in a disaster region just west of downtown New Orleans. And as I'm going to pan off here and show you where all these prisoners are located and isolated with the guards away from the prison, I'm going to give you a little bit of perspective here on where this is in relationship to the downtown area. As I pan up and out to the east, you're going to see downtown come into the Superdome. So we're very, very close to the downtown area, extremely flooded locations as we move on.
And so there we had it, the local affiliate reporter flying overhead in a helicopter and showed his viewers as well what was going on in the downtown area of New Orleans, where some prisoners have been moved into that area as well. And these are other pictures that we're getting in from our affiliates showing the degree of this flooding that has taken hold of this city. This is yet another rescue operation unfolding. Our affiliate KRIV, another Coast Guard basket, in effect, going down. Some individual stranded atop a roof, and the Coast Guard bringing that individual into this Coast Guard helicopter. This is a dangerous operation. These individuals have to hold on very tightly as that basket is literally brought into that helicopter as it hovers over the area. This has been going on and on and on. More than 1,000 individuals, we're told by the Coast Guard, have now been rescued in this way, and they say it's going to continue, perhaps even after it gets dark in New Orleans, because so many people are simply stranded. They have no place to go. They've managed to crawl up onto higher ground. Very often that would be a roof of a building, a roof of their home, but the water continues to go up and up and up, and they need some opportunity to get away. This is the videotape that we showed you just a little while ago. These were prisoners that have had to be relocated because the prison in which they were serving their time simply got full of water. As so many other structures in New Orleans have been finding themselves, and these prisoners now sitting on the side of a road waiting to be taken somewhere, who knows where, but there are armed guards watching these prisoners, presumably many of them very, very dangerous. These were pictures that we showed just a little while ago from this prison, and individuals in those orange jumpsuits still stranded inside, trying to deal with this situation like everyone else as the water continues to rise in this city of New Orleans. There's also some new pictures we're getting in showing the rescue operations that are underway. Let's show our viewers those rescue operations, the helicopters continuing to move over the devastated areas, the flooded areas of New Orleans, and National Guard and the military, the Coast Guard, all involved in what is clearly a dangerous situation. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll find out specifically what the United States military is doing, not only in New Orleans, but in neighboring Mississippi and Alabama. Our Jamie McIntyre is over at the Pentagon. He's got new information, much more coverage of the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina when we come back.
CNN, your hurricane headquarters. CNN Tonight. With Hurricane Katrina's damage estimated in the billions of dollars, hear stories of loss, survival, and recovery. Larry King Live, CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
I love to play. Really, the making of records is a kind of excuse to be able to get together with some great musicians and just jam. is my idea of fun, you know.
Back Home, the new album from Eric Clapton featuring Revolution and One Track Mind, in stores now.
Bringing you the world for 25 years, this is CNN.
I want to show our viewers some dramatic images we're just getting in. Take a look at this. Little children being rescued by the United States Coast Guard. They're being put into this basket. Let's just watch this unfold. Their parents are below, but this kid is now inside. But let's listen in.
Girl is now getting in with the younger girl into the basket. These scenes are being duplicated over and over again all day long within this area. The heroism of the United States Coast Guard, the U.S. Army, and all the rescue personnel here are just endless and extraordinary, to say the least. The two children are now being hoisted up into the Dauphine helicopter, holding on for a ride like they've never been in for before. Two children in.
That earlier scene we saw, those three little kids, they managed to get safely inside that helicopter. They were spinning like they were. We saw that Coast Guard rescue, that rescue personnel officer inside that helicopter stopped the spinning and brought those three little kids inside. Now we're seeing a similar operation underway right now. This is going on and on as they're now bringing these children from stranded with their parents on these rooftops, bringing them into the helicopters to try to save their lives. What a harrowing ride that was. While U.S. forces may be stretched thin by deployments overseas, more than 7,000 National Guard troops have been called to active duty in the states hit hardest by the hurricane. 100,000 more are on standby right now. Let's go live to our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre. Jamie, what are you hearing at the Pentagon?
Well, Wolf, at this hour, a U.S. Air Force giant C-5 Galaxy cargo plane is being loaded with 4 urban rescue teams, including swift boats that can navigate the water, just part of now what is 10,000 troops that have been called to active duty, with tens of thousands more who could be called up in the days ahead.
The Pentagon insists there are sufficient troops still at home to fulfill the National Guard's traditional role of disaster rescue and relief, despite the fact 75,000 National Guard troops are deployed to 40 countries and make up half the U.S. force in Iraq.
Made a commitment to the governors that we would have forces available for the federal duty, the away game, if you would, and the home game here in the continental United States. And no state across the country, none of the districts and the territories are below 50%.
Of the hardest hit states, Mississippi has 60% of its Guard troops, Louisiana 65%, Alabama 77%, and Florida 74%. A total of more than 31,000 troops available for call-up. So far, more than 10,000 Guard members have been activated. Many were already on duty before the storm hit, including 200 troops who provided security at the Louisiana Superdome. In the 17 states in or near the storm path, there are nearly 124,000 more troops who could be called to active duty.
Right now, job one for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is to plug the gap in that levee. They're planning to drop giant 3,000-pound sandbags into the 17th Street Canal flood wall that's been breached. If they can plug that, then they'll try to create a hole farther downstream to get the water to stop flowing from Lake Pontchartrain and then be pumped back out through the canal. That's a big job, but they've got to get those levees under control in order to start getting the water down in New Orleans.
All right, Jamie, thanks very much. Jamie's monitoring the situation at the Pentagon. We're also getting these pictures just in from New Orleans, new images. There's been, as you know, if you've been watching the Situation Room for the past few hours, there have been numerous fires that have erupted in and around New Orleans. We've been watching those fires. These pictures coming in from our affiliate KRIV, shot from overhead as planes flying overhead, and we've been watching all of this very carefully. This area does not look like it's heavily flooded right now, but there have been some fires. I think we're going to get close to one fire that's burning right now, and firefighters on the scene. If we get to that, there it is, almost there. It looks like it's getting closer to the situation, but we know that fires have emerged as yet another problem plaguing this city. Not only the fires, but all of these areas that certainly have caused numerous problems for New Orleans. Let's check in with our internet reporter, Abby Tatton. She's watching this situation for us online. Abby?
Yes, checking in with New Orleans again. We know that many people evacuated the city over the weekend, Wolf, but some did choose to stay behind. One of them was Michael Barnett, who decided that it would be far safer to stay in his office in downtown New Orleans with his fiancée and stick out the storm there than leave New Orleans over the weekend. He's on the 10th and 11th floor of a corporate high-rise there in the central business district. You can look here on the program Google Earth that his building is about 6 blocks away there from the Mississippi River. Now, yesterday he seemed pretty optimistic after the storm passed through, said that there was no major structural damage in the area that he was in downtown, though he did take many pictures out of the windows of his building, many of the windows there being blown in, and also the buildings across the street. But Michael's online blog here, it seems to have changed a lot. The optimism has gone in the last 24 hours. Look at some of the problems he's having right now. Michael lives in a different area of New Orleans. He doesn't know how his apartment is. He has not been able to communicate with his family at all. And also, he was reporting that there was no flooding in this area, the central business district, but that's changing. In the last couple of hours, he's been looking out the window. Water has just appeared. It's creeping up and headed towards the building where he is. So definitely changing there. Also, many reports of looting. He's saying the looting is getting nuts. The waters are rising. This is one person hanging out there in his office in downtown New Orleans who seems to be getting increasingly anxious. Wolf?
All right, Abby, thank you very much. We're getting some other pictures in from New Orleans, another dramatic rescue operation. I want to show our viewers what we're seeing. You see this individual, you see this man, he's stuck on a roof and he's crying out for help right now. So many other, literally thousands of people, they can't go down because there's water beneath them, and the first floor, probably the second floor of many of these homes are inundated with water, so they wait for the United States Coast Guard to come over and to harness them or put them in a basket and get them removed. Look at this entire area. This is New Orleans, underwater right now. These homes, we can only see the roofs of these homes. The first floor, the second floor of these homes, if there are other floors, they're underwater right now, and these individuals clearly are anxious to be saved, and the Coast Guard doing a remarkable job saving so many of them. Jack Cafferty has been watching all of this over the past 3 hours with us. Jack, it's pretty amazing.
It's just heartbreaking. You know, I was just watching the picture of that man on the roof, and there are those power lines running along there. I suppose it's a bit of a silver lining for the helicopter rescue pilots that there's no power coursing through those lines, Wolf, because those cables that they use to lower the baskets with, should they have come in contact, I don't know if that'd be a problem or not, but maybe there is some relief to the fact that there's no juice flowing through those lines while they try to extract those people.
Jack, did you see, let me interrupt you for a second, did you see those 3 little kids in that basket? That little baby on the ground, on the bottom of that basket, and the 2 other little older kids, but they were spinning and spinning and spinning. They got into that helicopter fine, but it was so dramatic.
And for kids that age, I'm sure, you know, they have no concept of the dire straits perhaps that they were in. It's probably all very exciting. They can't wait to tell their friends about the helicopter ride. But I mean, they're doing some yeoman's work, those Coast Guard pilots and the folks involved in this. But it's just that there, I guess, are so many people who you know, were trapped in their homes and couldn't get out. A city and surrounding area of 1.3 million. And even though they ordered a mandatory evacuation, Wolf, a lot of people choose to stay. They won't go or they can't go. That was the email question this hour. What should you do about folks who either can't or won't leave? A couple of these quickly. Those who can't leave, such as the old, crippled, or those without transportation, can be sheltered in large city structures, as we've been doing. But the able-bodied idiots who simply refuse to leave should be the last to receive services of any kind. Jim says impose a serious fine. They're the reason that the fire department and rescue squads had to risk their own lives. Josephine, Victoria, British Columbia, writes this: what on earth was wrong with the people that didn't leave when they were warned? I think they should have been forced to leave if they were able to walk. All of those who were unable to walk should have been helped by the authorities. This is just devastating to watch. Bev in Minnesota: I'm a nurse. I know for certain many elderly or chronically sick could not have evacuated New Orleans. Some have no family. Some are in wheelchairs or on oxygen. Some of my patients can't even get a ride home from the hospital. It was not a choice for them. And Irene in Massachusetts: people will not leave, should be forced to, even if it means arresting them. This is just an unbelievably heartbreaking story to watch unfold down there, Wolf.
One of the most devastating we've seen in a long time, Jack. Thanks very much. We'll see you tomorrow. We're here in the Situation Room every weekday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. We're not leaving this story. We'll be back tomorrow. Stay with CNN throughout the night. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Lou Dobbs tonight starts right now. Kitty Pilgrim filling in for Lou this evening. Kitty?
Well, good evening, everyone. We have very fast...